we are still reviewing this. The structure of a BJT is like this, or perhaps you still remember it. And there are two types of BJTs, NPN and PNP. The circuit symbol for NPN looks like this. This one is PNP, and as you can see, we swap the emitter and for the PNP, the emitter for NPN is at the bottom, while for PNP it's at the top. Why? Because when we draw circuits, we place the higher electrical potential at the top and gradually lower it towards the bottom. Why is that? To avoid confusion about current flowing in different directions or having a negative direction, something like that, we want the current to flow from high potential to low potential. So that's why the PNP emitter has to be at the top. So it's about like that. I want you to keep remembering the circuit symbols as well, and also the direction of current flow. Let's take a look at this. This is a graph of a BJT, an NPN type. We can draw the graph like this. It will have IC and VBE, because VBE is what we usually consider the variable that determines the current flowing through this IC. So for the plot, you can see that the graph is the same as the diode's graph. It's exactly the same, right? Because it depends on the same variable, which is the voltage drop VBE across the BJT. This is the graph, if you remember. I am not entirely sure if you remember this, but when we look at the IC versus VCE graph, IC is usually our output current, and VCE is also defined as the output voltage. It is quite important to keep this distinction in mind for your analysis. I have gone ahead and plotted this specific graph within the simulation program for you to take a closer look at. As you can clearly see here, the particular region where we typically utilize these types of devices in our amplifier circuits is the specific region that effectively acts like a constant current source, where the output current is precisely controlled by the input voltage. As you can clearly see from this graph, in the active region, the collector current remains relatively constant, right? So when we decide to bias a BJT for an amplifier circuit, we specifically choose to bias it in this region, which is known as the active region. And as we discussed before, if we assume there is a small change in the VBE signal at these two specific points, the operation stays within the linear region, right? If we were to zoom in closely on this particular region, the relationship can be considered effectively linear for our purposes. So let's take a closer look at exactly how this process amplifies the signal. To understand this better, suppose we compare it directly with these two graphs. Notice how this specific point intersects right here. The signal oscillation follows a pattern like this, and if we look closely, this other point intersects here as well. Let's assume for the sake of our analysis. By examining these intersections, we can clearly see the amplification effect in action across the entire waveform. This one intersects right here. Well, please forgive me as my drawing skills aren't exactly professional, but let's just assume for a moment that we have an input signal coming in, which represents a specific change in the base emitter voltage, or VBE. Now, this VBE here is just a small signal, nothing too complex, and if we consider this input, we have to ask ourselves, what exactly will this cause? Well, it is going to trigger a corresponding change in the output, which is the fundamental concept we are looking at here. I realize this drawing isn't particularly detailed or very good, but it effectively illustrates how the circuit changes in this specific manner. As you can clearly see here, even a relatively small change in the input causes a significantly larger change in the voltage drop across the VCE terminal, which is a key behavior to observe. This is signal amplification, okay? Now, I drew this diagram specifically to help us visualize the concept much better and to clearly show that the device must be operated in the active region only. This is just a quick review to ensure we are all on the same page before we move forward. In this segment, we will be examining the various fundamental equations that are used for calculating the current flow within an NPN-type BJT. These specific formulas are essential for understanding how the device operates in a circuit. But don't forget that in these current equations, both alpha and beta are for which region? The active region only. If it's in the saturation region, it can't be used. But don't worry, because in this course, we might need to be a little concerned when we bias it, to check if our BJT is in the active region or not. And don't forget, to make the BJT conduct current, the VBE here must be equal to 0.7 volts. If it's a PNP, it will be VB that equals 0.7 volts. And if we can limit, I don't know if you remember this from our previous discussions, let me ask you this. How much lower can the voltage at node VC actually be compared to the base voltage while the transistor is still operating in the active region? It is a specific value, and it can be exactly 0.4 volts lower than the base voltage. You must not forget this point, okay? This means it is still in the active region, right? What does that mean? It means that the VCE here, the VCE, has a value equal to 0.4. We are looking at 3 volts. This voltage level is still considered to be well within the active region, okay? Usually, in these types of circuit problems, these components are operating in the active region, so please don't forget that. This is just a quick refresh for everyone, right? It really shouldn't be difficult to grasp, right? So how do we actually start the analysis? We start by saying to assume, okay, that the NPN transistor is currently conducting. And remember, conducting simply means that current is flowing through the device. What does that mean? It means the voltage drop across here is 0.7, right? So we get VE here, which is how much? 3.3 volts. And what about the IE current? How much? 3,303. So let's start with the math. 0.3 volts divided by 3.3k ohms equals 1 milliamp, right? Is that correct? Yes, it is. So we have 1 milliamp flowing through the circuit, and what do we do next? Well, we have IE equals 1 milliamp, right? And VE is 3.3 volts. Now, given that beta is 50, to find IE, we can easily find IC, right? Remember, IC is approximately equal to IE, or more precisely, alpha times IE. You can try calculating the exact value on your calculator right now to see just how much it is and compare it to our approximation. How much it is. And what about VC? What is the value of VC? It's 10 volts. I don't know if you remember, but the current is positive to negative, right? The voltage across the resistor has polarity like this, positive and negative. So VC equals 10 minus IC times 4.7K, right? All right, and what about ID? We're almost done here. ID equals IE minus IC. So try punching it into the calculator to do the math. This should cover all the nodes and all the voltages. Alright, that's all set. Now, let's move on to MOSFETs. As I mentioned, there are 2 types of MOSFETs as well, N-channel and P-channel. The symbols look like this and this as well. The graph looks like this, where the current starts to become constant. In the saturation region, what does that mean? It means that if we want to use a MOSFET as an amplifier circuit, we must bias the MOSFET to be in this region only. As for the PNP, it's the same. It also needs to be in the region only. Try to observe the bias circuits for both PNP and NPN carefully. We are swapping the terminals, right? I won't go into too much detail about this, and later when we get to analyzing this, I will talk about it again. Therefore, the very important equation is this equation, right? Why? Because from now on, we will design the bias circuit for the MOSFET to be in this region only. So it is necessary to remember the condition that a MOSFET will be in the saturation region only when this condition is true, or the condition is true only. Please don't get confused. For a MOSFET, the region where the current is constant is called the saturation region. But for a BJT, the region where the current is constant is called the active region. The region where the current is constant, right? Called the active region. This is just a quick review, right? That last time we intended to bias the, well, not intended. We are going to design the MOSFET to operate in the region called saturation mode only. So the current will be like this. This is the equation used for the calculation, and for the P-channel device, we simply swap the polarity. Specifically, the gate to source voltage, VGS, becomes the source to gate voltage, VSG. And the drain to source voltage, VDS, becomes the source to drain voltage, VSD. This is how we adjust for P-channel. Try to take a moment and really refresh your memory on this. So let's see here, looking at this one, what exactly does it have? I'm trying to recall the specific details, but it's a bit tricky. G here is equal to 0, right? So what will the voltage here be? Yes, because it is a voltage divider, right? 10 volts is divided by 2 components of equal value. So the voltage at this node is 5 volts. So what do we do next? Where is VGS? This is VGS, right? Could you tell me what the specific value of the source is? Now, keep in mind that this particular item has an ID associated with it, right? And if you look closely, this value is actually equal to that ID multiplied by 6,000. So why don't you go ahead and try calculating that for yourself right now? And let's see exactly what kind of result you end up getting from that math. So that is what it is. It is not difficult. We just need to tell you what. Let's take a step back. We have to make a fundamental assumption here, right? We assume that the MOSFET is operating in the saturation region. Now, this saturation region is critical because it's where the device behaves like a constant current source, which simplifies our calculations. by assuming this saturation state, we can proceed with our analysis. So this region essentially means that the drain current ID is equal to Kn divided by 2. We are looking at the overdrive voltage squared, which is defined as Kn over 2, multiplied by the quantity of VGs minus the threshold voltage, V threshold, and all squared. Right? So let's go ahead and substitute the various values into our equation. This will be, let's see how much, it's 0.5 multiplied by this term, and then multiplied by the quantity of Vg, which is 5 volts minus Vsource. Now, what is Vsource exactly? Well, Vsource is simply the current ID multiplied by 6,000 ohms. Then we subtract 1, and finally, we take that entire expression and square it. From this resulting equation, you can clearly see that there is only one unknown variable remaining, which is the current ID. By solving this, we will then be able to find the precise value of the current ID. And once we have successfully determined ID, we can easily find the voltage at this node, right? And what about the drain node voltage? The drain node voltage here, VD, right? VD is equal to how much the current flows in this direction, right? So the polarity of the voltage drop across the resistor will be plus minus like this, right? So VD is equal to, right, 10 volts coming to this node, encountering the terminal minus, right? So 10 minus ID multiplied by 6,000, right? That's it. Try calculating it with your calculator.